We've had 3 weeks of parables for our Sunday gospel. This is the third. And today, we finish with a bang. We have count them, 4 parables in the gospel today. The treasure buried in a field, the merchant searching for fine pearls, the net thrown into the sea, catching fish of every kind, and that last one, head of the household who brings all the treasures from the storeroom, both the old and the new. Wow, where to start with that? Where to start and not keep you here all day. But actually, that last one, I'm kind of partial to that. That's one of my favorites. It only comes up once every 3 years in Matthew's gospel like this. The story of the householder who brings the treasures from the storeroom, the old and the new. Think about what that says for our families and how we kind of draw things together from many streams of tradition to make our families function well. Think about the experience of the church, offering us treasures both from the old and the new to warm our hearts and lift our souls today. So good things going on there. A number of years ago, I was watching a little bit of late night television, couldn't sleep, and I was channel surfing. And I can't recall if I stumbled across C-SPAN or stumbled across the National Geographic channel, but there was a talk going on. This official from the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C., he was talking. And he was talking particularly about how the collection was assembled for all the different museums they have, like under the umbrella of the Smithsonian. How they acquired things. There's some stories behind some of those, and he was telling those. Like how Charles Lindbergh's Spirit of St. Louis kind of fell into their lap. He said, very carefully, the Spirit of St. Louis fell into our lap. Or how Neil Armstrong's spacesuit and the moon rocks from that first lunar landing ended up in the lobby of the Air and Space Museum. All that from NASA. How, artifacts from the Continental Congress in 1776 came their way. Or how, some displays from the inventors who exhibited at the Centennial Exposition in 1876 in Philadelphia, our centennial and the first World's Fair held in the New World. Gloves and bats from Babe Ruth, Ted Williams, Jackie Robinson, and more. They're not just all in Cooperstown. Some are at the Smithsonian, too. And then, of course, the masterpieces from world-renowned sculptors and painters. His closing comment was, hey, come and visit the Smithsonian. Come and enjoy our collections. But, you have no idea what we have in the back room. So plan to come back again someday. Maybe we'll see something different that we drew out of the back room. All this talk of parables the last few weeks. Well, what's the kingdom of heaven like? I imagine if we kind of passed around a list here for the people at St. Jude's today, ask you to write down what would be that one thing you would want to see more than anything in the world, chances are we wouldn't have too many overlaps. I think people want to know what's really deepest in their hearts and have that one thing they haven't told anybody else about that they want to see or they want to experience. What's that one thing? Anything. Everything. Probably very few overlaps on that list. What is your treasure? What is your treasure buried in a field that would capture your heart and your soul so that you would think it for yourself and safekeep it forever? You go out and buy that field. What is that one great pearl of the pearl of great price that is out there and you would sell everything to possess it? What is it about the kingdom of heaven that would get you to do that? Today, right now, what are you willing to do to make that happen? And how would you change your life to make that possible? What gets a hold of your heart and soul? What do you really hope and wish God has in store for you? What is it about Jesus or the kingdom of God that you find so attractive that it calls you day and night? That you'd give up time, possessions, anything, everything, so that you could possess heaven one day. Imagine what the world would be like if all of us were obsessed with the kingdom of God. Think about the joy and the peace that would be in your heart, in our hearts, everyone's hearts. How the world could be changed and made over for Christ. And what are you willing to do that? What are you willing to do so that you can get that one pearl of great price, that one item that God has? That's something special that you're hoping and praying God has for you. I think that's a question you'll be asked one day. Remember that parable about fishing? The parable of the net catching fish of every kind? Hey, that fish of every kind, that's you and me, that's all of us. And you know, we have choices to make. What shall you seek? How will you come to possess it? How will you live your life seeking what God has to offer? And then hoping and praying, wondering what God has in the back room for you. From the old and the new, things that will touch your heart and soul, change your life. Maybe you have an inkling about it. Maybe you have no clue at all. But you know that with God, it is there for you, for me, for all of us. Imagine what God has for you and how you've changed your life to be ever closer to God each day.